To my left is my 2023 Harley-Davidson CVO Road Glide. Well, I should say it was my 2023 CVO Road Glide, because to my right is my 2024 CVO Road Glide ST. I traded in the 23 for the 24, and I want to tell you why I did that. Intro. Keep it loaded, keep it loaded, keep it loaded, keep it loaded. Very nice, I'm looking at the camera. Very nice, good, good, good. Preloaders, V.I.Preloaders, welcome back to the channel, guys. Always a pleasure to have you guys here with me, and you know this by now, or at least you should. For those of you that have never been to this channel before, welcome to you as well. My name is Robert. I'm a retired NYPD Highway Patrol motorcycle lieutenant, and the name of this wonderful channel is Be the Boss of Your Motorcycle. And like I stated, guys, this is Misty. Well, that was her name. I'm sure the new owner will give it a new name if they name their motorcycles. And this is my new girl. This is Shelly. Right, this is what Anita named this motorcycle, Shelly. And as I've already stated, I'm going to talk to you about why I decided to trade in Misty for Shelly. I'm going to talk to you about some other things too, guys. I'm going to talk to you about pros and cons, because there's always pros and cons, there's always trade-offs. And I'm going to talk to you about some other things regarding this motorcycle in particular. So the first thing I'm going to tell you guys is there was nothing wrong with my 23 CVO, nothing at all. But when I saw this motorcycle, I knew immediately that I was going to be getting rid of this one. And why? Because one of the number one things is, look at it. I mean, it's beautiful. It is just beautiful. I know that's subjective, but there are quite a few people already that haven't even seen the motorcycle in person that love it, whether it's the white one or the black one. I had the pleasure of going out to Las Vegas, courtesy of Harley-Davidson, and riding this ST motorcycle on a racetrack. So being able to really experience the new improved engine on this, and the lighter weight and stuff like that, the new bars. I'm going to get into all of that, but that just made the decision that I was going to make concrete. I knew I was going to trade in this bike for this bike. So first, let me go over the things that this bike has that appeal to me. First, and I know it's subjective, it looks better, right? It just looks better. This is going to turn more eyes than this bike. And there are some people that said that the color of this didn't really scream CVO. This is actually my favorite color. But aside from the silver coloring or the gray coloring, it was just some pinstriping and that's it. There's not a lot more going on with this motorcycle. You have a white color. It's a beautiful color, nice flaking. But this is why I like the white better than the black. It's the contrast, guys. The contrasting colors with the white, the black, the forged carbon fiber, the front fender is carbon fiber, the cowl is carbon fiber, the trim piece on the top of the gas tank, carbon fiber. It just looks beautiful with the red piping. It's a lot of contrast, and you lose a lot of that contrast with the black. Again, that's my opinion. This is going to turn more heads than the black one, and it's certainly going to turn more heads than this one. Okay, reason number two, it's faster. Guys, let me tell you something. Now on the track, it was one thing because we had some turns, we had some stops, and we had a U-turn to do, actually 2 U-turns. So I was never really able to get it on like a straightaway and just gun it. But once I got home and I made the purchase and I went out on the highway, let me tell you something, guys. I was able to really appreciate the suspension because I wasn't able to do that out in Vegas because a track is smooth. But the suspension feels good, and I haven't even dialed it in yet. I'm going to do that. But it is fast, and it gets up fast. Again, they're both 121 engines. But this one has a VVT, this one does not, so it's a high output engine, which is going to make it faster because they were able to tune it better and map it. And Kyle Wyman had a say-so in that as far as the mapping on this motorcycle, talking about the tuning. but also you're going to be able to do stage kits on this bike. You're going to be able to do more with the engine on this bike than the VVT, at least now. And this motorcycle right here is governed at 110 miles per hour. This one's governed at 120, right? I think that's the first Harley-Davidson motorcycle that I know of that's been governed at 120. And again, listen, that's what it's governed at. That's what Harley-Davidson has to do. But just like people do stuff to the other motorcycles, the older model motorcycles, to get rid of that governor, you do the same thing to this. And oh my gosh, the fact that this is lighter too, I feel like sky's the limit. You put a stage 3, all right, let me not get ahead of myself. I'll just say for now, stock, this bike's faster than this bike. Okay, third reason for me, it's the 25th anniversary of CVO. I love CVOs. I've owned 4 of them. I still own 3, and that's including this one. So it just made sense for me to have a 25th anniversary edition CVO. And I have to say, Harley-Davidson did their thing to celebrate 25 years of CVO with this CVO ST model. It is just phenomenal. Okay, fourth reason. In my opinion, it's the best Harley-Davidson ever made. Stock, out of the gate. It looks good, it's fast, it's light. And I'm talking about as far as touring style motorcycles. The best, the best. And if you think otherwise, ride this motorcycle and compare it to other touring motorcycles. We're going to talk about the whole touring aspect of this motorcycle later on in the video. Okay, reason number 5. It looks better. I mean, it is just beautiful. It is a beautiful, beautiful looking bike. They just did a fantastic job. That's all I'm going to say. They did a fantastic job. And again, it's not big things, because if the frame, the body style, it's the exact same as the 23. But it's the little touches that just made this bike stand apart from every other one. And it's also stuff obviously internally, like the engine and the weight, and the bars, but just beautiful. Okay, the 6th reason, and again, this is going to tie into what it looks like. They blacked out the forks. Now, I don't know if I've ever seen that. I don't pay attention to a lot of these things, but on Misty, the forks are chrome. And they would, of course, this bike, in my opinion, would have looked a lot better with black forks, because the handlebars are black. It's got black accents, the engine guards, the engine. So the fact that they thought to do it on this bike, this is what I'm talking about, the small things. It's like they paid attention to detail. They listened to, I guess, what they heard people saying, and they made it happen. 7th reason, the wheels. I love the way the wheels look. It's not just the way they look, though. It's the functionality of them, and I'm referring to maintenance, right? It's way easier for me to clean these wheels than it was for me to clean the spoked wheels. Now, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure when I was out in Vegas, I heard them say that the wheels on the ST model are originally painted red, and they were powder coated twice. I don't know if it was the red or the black, but they were originally painted red and then painted black, right? Powder coated black. So the red that you see that says CVO ST, that's not a sticker. Like, that's in there, that's painted in there. So I don't know if they just covered that piece up when they painted it black, but little things like that just matter to me. It means something. The fact that that's not a sticker, and it looks great. Again, it's giving you that contrast too. Reason number 8, 2 extra modes on the ST. So yes, both these bikes have riding modes. It has a ride mode, road mode, rain mode, and then a sport mode. And then you can customize some modes too. That's what this has. The ST has the same thing, but it also added track mode and track plus mode. And those 2 modes just get you more in tune with the bike. It kind of, track mode kind of eases the inputs from linked braking and RDRS and stuff like that. And I believe track mode plus almost totally eliminates them. So you have more feel of the braking. That's not something I'll ever need. You know, I want as much help the motorcycle is going to give me. But I will say that when I was in track mode on that track, yeah, when we went off the line, myself and John, that back wheel, we got some skid out of it. So, you know, that's just a cool thing. But sport mode is fast. Track mode, I believe it's just as fast. It's more about the other things that are going on with the motorcycle. Reason number 9, the intake. So, funny story, guys. I had a 2021 CVO Road Glide, and I also had a 2023 Breakout. And both of those motorcycles had the air breather that kind of stuck out with the 117 badge on it. And as good as those might have looked, they weren't really practical, at least not for me, because my shin was always making contact with them while using the rear brake. And so when I saw the air cleaner on this motorcycle that almost looks like it's twice the size of those, my first thought was, oh my God, here we go again. That thing is huge. It's going to be all on my leg. Negative. They redesigned it. So even though it's bigger, it's redesigned so that it is not coming even close to my leg. So, I mean, guys, that made me so happy when I sat on this bike and saw, because I already knew I was going to buy it. And I didn't want to change it because I love the way it looks. To know that I don't have to change it, outstanding. The suspension. Now, it's showy suspension on the front and the rear. I don't know if that's the same on the 23, but what I do know is that the rear suspension feels better, looks better, and it's easier to adjust. Now, you still have to do manual adjustments, but you can adjust it as far as the softness and the stiffness with the two knobs on the rear reservoirs, and that just looks way better than that knob that was sticking out of the side of the 23 model. Engine guards. So the engine guard that comes on this motorcycle, I like this way better, not just because it looks better, but it just makes more sense. And here's what I'm referring to. If I tip this motorcycle over, the engine guard and the saddlebag guard, which by the way, I had to add the saddlebag guards, it doesn't come with that on the rear, they're gonna do their job. A tip over, even if the bike's moving and it falls, as long as you don't hold on to the handlebars and pull the motorcycle down with you, because then you're pulling it beyond the guard, they're gonna do their job. And the scuffs that are on them are gonna be on the underside of the guards. So that's not a big deal. And when the bike is standing up straight, you won't even see that. But if that happens often, you practice a lot or whatever, eventually your only option is gonna be, if they're black, you can spray paint them. People use some Rust-Oleum spray paint. If they're chrome, I don't know what the hell you're gonna do. You're gonna have to change the whole thing eventually. Well, that issue is solved with the new design of these new engine guards, because the tip of it screws off, right? It's like a rubbery piece. You screw that off, you put another piece on, and I can guarantee you that is way more cost effective for you than changing a whole engine guard, and less labor intensive, because all you have to do is screw something off, screw it back on. Boom, boom, easy, easy. I'm gonna get them on the rear of this bike as well. They do the job that they're supposed to do, and like I said, you drop it, unscrew it, take it off, that's just beautiful. So how often is it that something looks good, looks better than something you're accustomed to, and it's actually gonna cost you less money, it's more efficient? And quite frankly, I think that this looks better, it looks more modern, because let's face it, we've been looking at the same kind of engine guard on pretty much all the motorcycles, particularly Harley Davidsons, for decades, right? So this is a breath of fresh air. This is also an option available to the new body style of the Road Glide and the Street Glide. So I think a lot of people are gonna be switching out what they had for this. You'll see, watch. I may be forgetting something, but those are the reasons why I chose this motorcycle. And I chose to trade in this motorcycle. So like everything else, there's always trade-offs, right? Life is about sacrifices. So what things did I have to sacrifice getting this bike that this bike had? So the first thing I had to sacrifice, heated grips. This bike comes with heated grips, of course. This one doesn't. But that's something I can add on, and I will. Most of the things I'm going to talk to you about that I had to sacrifice, I'm just going to add on to this bike, and I'm going to talk to you about that later in this video as well. Second thing, rear speakers. Speakers in the bags. Again, I'm going to add that too. And I will say, the stereo system on this motorcycle, on Misty, it sounded good to me, and I didn't even upgrade the 6x9 speakers. I have them, but I didn't upgrade them. But they sound good, and I could just imagine what it would sound like with the 6x9s. So the fact that this didn't have them, I knew that I was going to get them. Third thing I'm sacrificing, remote locking bags. So I told you how many CVOs I've had, right? And how many I currently own. I've never owned a CVO without locking saddlebags. So just looking at the key is strange to me because it doesn't have any buttons on it. It's just a key. But I do get two of them, of course. Better get two for a CVO, right? But that's the sacrifice. Number 4, no rear pillion. Now again, that's not a big deal to me. When I owned Misty, I took the first thing I did was take the pillion seat off because I like the way it looks better with a solo seat. So this one has a cowl on the end, it's carbon fiber cowl on the back of it. Again, it looks great. I don't have to worry about it just being an exposed fender. I'm never gonna put a 2-up seat on this anyway because A, I don't like the way it looks, and B, I don't have any plans on putting another person on this bike. That's what Violet is for. Violet's my 2021 CVO Limited. The luggage rack holder, obviously Misty comes with that. This bike doesn't because it has the reservoirs on it for the rear suspension, but there is a bracket coming out. You'll be able to still put that docking hardware on this bike along with the reservoirs. So don't worry about that, guys. If this is something that you're thinking you can't do on this bike, that's coming. VVT engine. So when I first rode this bike, oh yeah, the engine is just great. It was phenomenal. I was comparing it to, 23 models that didn't have the new VVT or the new body style or anything like that. It's fast. The fuel efficiency is off the charts. It just really is. You're giving up the VVT on this bike. So I guess when it comes to sacrifice, this bike is going to get less gas mileage than this bike did. But for me, that's not a big deal. You're still going to get good gas mileage out of this, 40-something miles per gallon. But this just gets a little bit better gas mileage. So for me, yeah, it's a trade-off, but not really, because I prefer a higher output engine and more options with that engine, and that's what this bike's going to give me. So I'm going to give this one a half and half. Half sacrifice, half not. Longer footboards. Now, when I first got this motorcycle, I didn't particularly like the footboards. They're longer than the ST, yes, but they're not as long as the Kahuna collection ones that I'm accustomed to having on my CVOs. Plus, the Kahuna collections have floating surfaces so that you don't get all that vibration from the road, especially if you're riding long distance. You may not even notice that until you ride a motorcycle that has that. Whereas on this bike, it's just a sheet of metal, so nothing to isolate the vibration. This bike kind of has that, but these are shorter footboards. But the beauty of it is, the first thing I wanted to do is put the Kahuna collection on this motorcycle, but the colors don't match. And on this bike, they do. So I am going to put the Kahuna collection on this bike, and I'm going to get the red and black ones, and it's going to look beautiful. It's going to match this whole style perfectly. So I almost feel like I'm going to give that a half and half too. Heel shifter. This one comes with a heel toe shifter. This one just comes with a toe shifter. Again, this is just for me. There are several people, some of them that I know, that despise a heel shifter, but I like the way my boots look, and I want them to look good all the time, and using my toe to kick up just ruins my boots. So for me, that's a sacrifice, but I am going to add one. Okay, I'm going to put an asterisk next to this one because it's not fair, and I'm talking about the exhaust. So of course, I am sacrificing exhaust on this motorcycle because these are stock pipes. And I got to tell you, even for stock pipes, they don't sound bad at all, and they look good. Carbon fiber, forged carbon fiber tips, and they're titanium, so they're lighter. So they look good, and the functionality of them being lighter, it's a nice looking pipe. But of course, on the 23 CVO, you got that scorched chrome and 50 caliber tab performance scorched chrome pipes on it with a zombie baffle in them. I mean, it just sounds amazing in this. As a matter of fact, Eric, a sales guy here, as soon as he started the bike up to bring it back here for me, just me hearing it and then hearing them ride it away, I was like, oh my God. But fret not, you know what's gonna happen to this bike. It's gonna happen. I don't care what horsepower I lose by it happening, it's gonna happen because, again, I care more about what this looks like and what it sounds like than any performance that an exhaust gives me. That's just me. It's still gonna be fast, but that's just me. I'm also sacrificing the garage door opener. This one has it, and it is convenient. You just have to hit the high beam button, opens up the garage. This doesn't have it, but I'm gonna add it. Also gonna be changing the mirrors on the ST. I like the way the mirrors looked a lot on the 23 model. I really like the way they looked. It was a great choice. Right now, they put the basic mirrors on that ST, and again, my guess is it weighs less. So how do these two bikes compare? Well, this one's a lot more fun to ride for now. The handlebars, we have a T-bar setup, so it feels more sporty. I can still do my slow speed maneuvers, no problem at all with that. I mean, no problem at all. It's lighter, it's faster, so yeah. This one, it's still good, nothing wrong with it, right? Still plenty fast. This one is just faster. So I've heard several people talk about this motorcycle and say, you know what? If you just want to do short rides and you want to go on the track, then this is your motorcycle. But if you're a touring type guy, you ride a lot of miles, then the VVT model, which is the 2024 CVO, that would be a better option for you. I'm going to push back on that a little. And again, this is just my opinion. Make no mistake about it. This is still a touring motorcycle, right? It's a touring motorcycle. So the same things that you can put on this motorcycle, you can put on this motorcycle. So can you put a tour pack on this motorcycle? Absolutely. I actually have one for this. You're going to be able to put a tour pack on this motorcycle as well. passenger footboards. You can put that on here, or passenger pegs. There's a ton of modifications you can do. You can change whatever you want to make it what you want it to be. And after you do all of those changes, your bike is still going to be fast as hell. So, you know, for people that say this is not a good choice for long distance riders, I'm going to disagree with that. Listen, I know people that do long distance riding on Softails, sport bikes. The exception doesn't make the rule. I'm not trying to say that that's the way to go. But my point is, forget about what anything has to say about what you do with your motorcycle that you paid for. You can do whatever you want with it. Like, I've had questions on the fact that I'm going to add the stuff that I'm planning on adding to this motorcycle. They said, why would you do that? They made it so light. You're just adding weight. All right, guys, I'm only going to say this once. These questions that you ask anybody about something they bought are just, they're nonsensical, because the biggest appeal of Harley-Davidson is the customization, the options. Do you think that's different because it's a CVO or a CVO ST? I've heard people say, oh, I would never touch a CVO, you lose the value. Listen, you can always put it back to the way it was if you're worried about value. I don't give a crap about the value of the motorcycle that much. I care about what I'm getting out of it in that moment. And so my message to you guys is, do whatever you want to do to your motorcycle. Do as little as you want to do with your motorcycle. It's your motorcycle, period. And you're going to be comfortable on it. People are always going to have something to say, guys, so don't worry about that. Put them in the hater category, right? Because there's haters everywhere. They're all around you, whether you know it or not. Some of them are right next to you and they call themselves your friends. But secretly, they're hating on you. And lastly, guys, I'm going to talk to you about people that were talking about the price of this motorcycle. So the 2023 CVO, the MSRP for this motorcycle was $42,999. I was very happy with that price because everybody was expecting it to cost way more, new body style, blah, blah, blah. ST model, same MSRP, $42,999. And then people were like, yeah, but they took out a bunch of stuff on this. Why is it the same price? Well, really, it's not, because the 2024 CVO is $44,499. So let's just say $44,500. Remember, just because it says CVO, it doesn't mean it's going to have everything. These type of CVOs, yes. But this is a CVO ST. So because it's race inspired, the goal is to make it sleeker, faster, prettier. The only way you're going to make it faster is A, get rid of the VVT, which they did. And the VVT, I believe, is actually a lighter engine too. But you also have to shave weight. So think about it. The high output engine's giving you more horsepower, plus less weight. That's going to equal faster, right? And so they took the weight away from any place that they possibly could that made sense, that you couldn't look at the bike and see it and go, oh man. So heated grips, everything weighs something. It all adds up. So I get it. But remember I talked about those options? So yeah, when I open up the saddlebags on this bike, it feels odd to me because the lid is so light, because I'm so accustomed to a speaker being in there. So that's two speakers. These are 5x7s that come with this. You put a 6x9, it's even heavier. So you take that out, it makes this bike lighter. But I want music, so I'm gonna put them in. That's my option, and I'm glad that I have that option. So there are different levels of motorcycle in Harley-Davidson that are CVO. For instance, in 2013, I'm hoping they bring this back. So in 2013, there was a CVO Road King, and it had a nice paint job and, you know, different wheels and stuff like that. But it's just so much you can do on a Road King. So obviously that's gonna have less stuff. They have a CVO Pan America now. So they're gonna throw a bunch of stuff on the Pan America, new paint and this and that, right? But it's not gonna have as much as this kind of CVO. So you see what I'm saying, guys? This is the CVO model for the ST line. And I think this is just the start of it. We'll see what else is coming. Is there a Street Glide CVO ST in the future? I don't know. And I don't think that it will be, only because if you look at any of the bikes that this is inspired from, which is part of the King of the Baggers, they don't use fairings that move. They all use a fixed fairing, right? So if it's going to be race inspired and modeled behind those motorcycles, it has to be a Road Glide, right? It just has to be a Road Glide. So, but again, I don't know. We'll see. So guys, I'm extremely happy with the decision that I made. I'm still getting to know Shelly, but I'm telling you, when I get on her, immediately I feel comfortable. And this was out in Vegas too. As soon as I got on the bike, I just felt comfortable, and I'm so accustomed to getting on a stock touring model Harley-Davidson and immediately having to change things. Now, one thing I am going to have to think about is highway peg positioning, because the engine guards on this motorcycle are different than the ones that are on this motorcycle. I can't just throw a highway peg on it. So I'm probably gonna have to get something that's frame mounted or that mounts to the bottom of the footboard, which is an issue for me, first world problem, because I'm gonna scrape the crap out of that thing, I know it. All right, guys, that's all I have. Listen, if you have not in person yet seen Road Glide ST, CVO Road Glide ST, you have to see one of these bikes in person. And if you're fortunate enough to ride it, even that's not gonna compare to the way I was able to ride it out in Vegas, of course, but you just have to feel this bike. And if you own a 23 CVO and you're thinking about upgrading to this, you already have a beautiful bike, I'm gonna tell you that. But OMG, in my opinion, IMO, this was a no-brainer, all right? Put in the comment section, guys, what do you think? Put in the comment section if you like the black better than the white. And I'm talking about if you've seen it in person, because it makes a difference. That contrast is just hard to beat, guys, hard to beat. Anyway, guys, I know there's anything you could be doing with your time, and the fact that you choose to spend a little bit of it with me, that's always appreciated. Spend more time being thankful for the things that you have, guys, and less time complaining about the things that you don't. Seat time doesn't equal practice time, and if you have time to ride your motorcycles, you have time to practice on them. Until next time.